Thursday started out with a bang. Heat, humidity, moonlight, all the elements in place for a long weekend. I was good at my job.
Haunted by the patients he failed to save, a monumentally burned out Manhattan ambulance paramedic fights to maintain his sanity over 3 increasingly turbulent nights.
Marty
Marty
did this. Never knew. You've been trying to push me to watch this for so long, and I didn't know Scorsese directed it.
Scorsese directed this movie, 99, and even more of the cast and crew is going to shock you as we get along in there.
I think I told you about this movie, and I was like, this looks like something you would like. Never watched it, and you loved it. Yeah, I love a tight timeline.
The great thing about this movie is there's no wasted scenes. The very first scene of the movie is him saving whatever's left of Patricia Arquette's father.
I love on the radio you can hear,
At 177 West 24, there's a woman who says a roach crawled in her ear. Can't get it out, so she's going into cardiac arrest.
I thought that was going to be the first call.
And you know who plays that? Marty. He's the guy on the radio
he's the,
chirping them the whole
intercom?
time.
Chronic Caller of the Year, 3 straight, and shooting for number 4, the Duke of Drunk, the King of Stink.
So they get to this guy's place, and I love how many times they have to defibrillate people in this movie. They defibrillate him, like, they say, like, at the end, he's like, 17 times we had to shock him. And every time they do...
Meanwhile, he's just like, kill me.
The cool thing about this movie is that, aside from saving lives and whatnot, Nicolas Cage is seeing ghosts the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, which is kind of like...
I like the
cornily exposited by some voiceover in that first scene when he's saving Patricia Arquette's dad.
But I was convinced that if I turned around, I'd see old man Burke standing at the window, watching.
Something to that effect in the voiceover that kind of was like, made me, I don't know.
So the first night, we have Nicolas Cage and John Goodman being buddies, being pals in the paramedic car. They're driving around. They deliver Patricia Arquette's father.
This is the neighborhood I grew up in. It held more ghosts per square foot than any other.
If you lean into it, though, it's very fun. I
was having a tough time leaning in.
Oh, really?
A little bit.
Later on in the movie, you see the ghosts coming out of the ground. Like, there's a whole like montage of them, and it's
I
kind of like
his little dream sequence. Yeah,
I like that Marty didn't take himself so seriously.
Honestly, know what it reminded me of? It's like if you turned up the camp factor on Shutter Island, like by tenfold.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there was a scene where it was like super scary or even that intense. Like there was no like chest clutching, like, oh, what's gonna happen sort of stuff. Robbie Richardson, who shot this movie,
Dude,
gorgeous, looks really good.
Don't get me started on Robbie Richardson and that man's catalog of movies that he's done. Have you seen the list?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Well, he was, I remember a movie we both love, Repo Man. He was the B camera operator, and that's how he got one of his starts. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, if I'm remembering right.
Well, so there's that. He shot Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Kill Bill, and Inglourious Basterds. So he was like Tarantino's guy for a while.
Yeah.
Also shot Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Fuck off.
This dude works so much, though. That's crazy.
I feel like he's just one of those workaholic cinematographers that just like can't stop.
Yeah.
He'll take Venom. He'll take the paycheck.
And they'll take Patricia Arquette's father to the hospital, where we meet basically the home hub of the movies. Then whenever they go back to the hospital, it's like reset.
It's just like he's back there every 5 minutes. And it's all in one night, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, Patricia Arquette, you want to have a cigarette with me?
John Goodman's hosing out the back of the fucking
every 5
van.
minutes.
That's it. I've had it. Can't take it anymore.
What I love about this movie, though, is that over the course of the 3 nights, his like partner in the ambulance changes.
Which it's really good too, because you don't think that a paramedic would drive 3 days in a row, and the entire time Nicolas Cage wants to be fired. You know, you said you were gonna fire me.
The funniest scenes, man, when he's in his boss's office, and he's like,
You swore that you'd fire me if I came in late again. You swore.
I'll fire you tomorrow.
The first night, John Goodman and Nicolas Cage, they drive around. They have to pick up Mr. O, the stinky man, the man that's just...
I thought one of the guys in the crowd when they were picking him up looked like fucking Kurt Vonnegut, and I'm like, maybe Scorsese got Kurt Vonnegut to play a bit role.
How do you know how Kurt Vonnegut looks like? Does he put his picture on the inside
There's
of his
that
books?
Kurt Vonnegut documentary, you know? Everybody knows what Kurt Vonnegut looks like.
Could you imagine if we discovered that like Kurt Vonnegut was in this movie somehow?
I hope
was
it
he
is.
alive in 1999?
A lot of like older men with gray curly hair look like Kurt Vonnegut to me.
There's an overarching plot where Nicolas Cage couldn't save this 18-year-old's life, and it's kind of haunting him the entire time. I know it's lame and corny, and like, why this one specific?
It's lame how it's handled. Like,
yeah,
he literally sees his face, Rosa's face, on different people, like, and she's literally whispering to him, like, as he's driving by in slow motion. Why didn't you save me? Oh my God, just shoot me.
And there was nothing he could really do either, right? Because the way Rose died was they were driving by, they look over and see her, and then he just couldn't do it.
He just couldn't get the tube in.
She in her stomach? Like, you're going in her stomach or something.
Let me try, says John Goodman, and he finally gets it. But it's like, I don't know, she's probably going to die anyway. It's not like he like should have took a bullet for her and didn't, you know?
There's the Red Death, this drug that's going around town that people kind of just snort and it kills them. I guess it's just,
it's got like this little red skull and crossbones, so you know it's deadly.
I love fake drugs in movies. There's like, oh yeah, it's been sweeping the nation. Oh, I heard it kills everyone. It can't be that fucking great. But then we get to Ving Rhames' portion of the movie where he plays this evangelist, holier-than-thou Christian man.
Damn, you guys are good.
Not us. The first step is love. The second is mercy.
See, I in the movie, I didn't realize if it was a put-on or not.
I think that's the point. I couldn't tell if everything he was saying about... Well, you know, he talks about, like, this was Jesus. Jesus did this.
Yeah, but he's obviously doing that for a bit when they're, like, saving the overdosed kid with Narcan.
There's the second time around when so the first time around, they pull up to the place where people were ODing on the Red Death. And there's a whole scene of Ving Rhames. You know remember what the man's name was?
What's his name?
I be banging.
What you mean I be banging?
I be banging.
What the hell kind of name is I be banging?
I don't know his real name.
Frederick Smith.
Okay, Freddie.
It's Frederick.
Okay, I'll be banging.
See that Ving Rhames and Nicolas Cage have done this before, because like Nicolas Cage does the paramedic stuff, and he kind of looks over at Ving Rhames like, all right, you can do your bit now. And they all hold hands through the power of Christ.
Yeah, that's good.
But the first time around, that's, you know, he says that was Jesus, but later on, they have the scene where they save the woman giving birth. There's I think it's in the crack house or something. There's the woman giving birth. Right. And they have like the two children. And they're talking about earlier in the movie, have you ever done mouth to mouth with someone? And someone says, one time, like it was a baby though, or...
Yeah, and then there's the boyfriend of the pregnant woman is like, we never had sex, like...
she's like a virgin.
Yeah.
And then that's how we get the second, it was a Jesus moment, where we're like, okay, now we definitely can't tell.
Do we know if the baby survives?
One of the babies survives, and then the other one, they kind of turn around, and it's like,
Because Ving Rhames is like... on his like cloud 9 because his baby lived.
They're drinking in the car. They're just
then Nick Cage's baby dies.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing throughout the movie is Nick Cage is like on like he's depressed because he hasn't saved a patient like in weeks or whatever.
He talks about how like the high you get when you save them, and it's like it goes on forever versus like most of the people die that you bring in anyways.
One thing I wish we saw more in the movie is like after that first night you see Nick Cage like at home.
Yeah, he's like sleeping with like the bright lights and the curtains
and it's just his place is like fucking dishes piled in the sink.
Ving Rhames is on the high of saving the baby that he just needs to take another call. I don't know, were you shocked? Insane.
So cool. It's such a like low budget feeling movie because like there's no like huge set pieces.
No, but half the film is them in the cars. But I think this is one of the best films ever shot in a car mostly. Nicolas Cage can get fired, so he gets teamed up with Tom Sizemore now. And I think between this, I think on his day off, he meets up with Patricia Arquette, and they're supposed to go on a date or something. But she was like a junkie. She was clean. She goes to that place where it's not like fancy people do heroin, but it's like you do a little heroin, and they put you in a bed, and you can rest.
It looks like the apartment at the end of Good Time.
that's very fucking true.
There's just like a volcano like picture, but it's smoking out of the top. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh man, he has like it looks like a fucking paper mache like volcano oil painting, but it's smoking. Absolutely wild.
Nicolas Cage goes in there, drops off Patricia Arquette, or finds her there after 15 minutes. He's supposed to wait for her.
Yeah, he's supposed to like come after me in 15 minutes, and he just follows her up and eventually decides to knock. And yeah, Patricia Arquette's like passed out because she took this pill that this drug pusher gave her.
Yeah, but at first though, he pushes the pill on Nicolas Cage as well.
That's when he takes the pill, and then he has that crazy like dream trip sequence where there's like the dead people coming out of the ground.
Is that when that happens?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, I love this. I think the fact that because you have sequences like that, it's like very low budget. It just crossfades of people standing up on like a dark stage, but it worked for me. You know, I kind of like a movie that kind of takes a little bit of that fantasy element and kind of mixes it in.
It felt like a bit like a Disney ride. Like I was supposed to be
yeah, it felt like the haunted house ride.
Strapped in the back of the ambulance, you know, just like riding around with them.
And then he wakes up and has a classic Nicolas Cage freak out.
Now, Frank, be cool, my brother. Look, you have what you call the paradoxical reaction, right? But listen to me, Frank.
Yeah, like literally slings Patricia Arquette over his shoulder.
Like Tarzan style.
Let him go. Let him go. And he just walks out.
Yeah. And then goes back to Patricia Arquette's place. He falls asleep on her couch.
You can't stay here. He wakes up. It's dark. Patricia Arquette's gone.
And I guess that's like he's ready for his next shift then. Like he wakes up, he's like,
yeah,
all right,
like,
I gotta go.
He's like, oh, I better suit up. And he's like, I quit my job today. And then he just goes back to driving the ambulance. He's not even late.
We end up with Tom Sizemore, the driving around, and the climax of the movie is they end up back at the drug dealer's apartment, which was a good twist too, since you've seen them enter the building, but you never really like notice or put two and two together until like
visually, it's the best scene in the movie. It looks so good, dude. When Nick Cage walks out onto the balcony, it's like it looks amazing, man. It reminds me of the end of Blow Up. With like all the fireworks going off.
Oh yeah,
it looks really good. They're walking down the hall and you see a character, this woman we saw earlier, like bleeding out of her head, like face down, coming out of the door, and there's all this water. And they're like, I think one of the cops is like, oh, it must like left the tub on or something. And it's like the fish tank. Someone smashed the fish tank. So as they're walking, it's like a shot down at the carpet with all the fish like flopping on the wet carpet. It's
and he kind of slowly realized that it was the same apartment they were at earlier because you see like the dead receptionist. And then one of the best things about this movie is that there's a clear theme of these people just not caring.
It captures like the kind of like gallows humor mentality pretty well because like they're so used to death.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Walk around with a defibrillator all the time? And all the doctors kind of just like, what are they gonna do? You know, like they're just bringing this vegetable to life over and over again, and they know that's what they're doing.
Like the drug pusher that we met earlier who gave Nick Cage the pill, he like jumped off the balcony.
Some drug dealers came to like, rob them.
So he's like impaled on this fence through the abdomen and just kind of like staying there. And so Nick Cage is like holding his head up, talking to him while the cops are cutting this wrought iron fence away.
But yeah, at the end of the movie, Patricia Arquette's father dies.
Because Nick Cage can fucking talk to ghosts, or he's crazy. He doesn't know. We don't know. Nick Cage just pulls the curtain back and he hooks up all the life support equipment to himself so it doesn't like start beeping or going off that he's flatlined.
And you just listen to like him breathe through that tube for like 6 seconds.
Yeah. And
then he puts it back
the guy
on.
slowly dies.
So what'd you think of it?
Should we give a score? Is that what we're doing?
I'm not scoring. I definitely recommend this film. I think it's a great hard city film. It's a film about a job you don't see too often. It's a film that's shot visually interesting. It's all shot in this ambulance, but it never feels tiresome or like a fake ambulance set, despite how like big inside it feels. Great acting from all the people in it. Ving Rhames, John Goodman, Tom Sizemore, the guy that plays Gris.
I think this movie is for people who are a really huge Nick Cage fan, which you are.
Sure.
B, a huge Scorsese fan that you're a completionist and want to watch everything. Would I recommend this movie to like
a generic audience of people that maybe they like Nicolas Cage?
For me, probably not.
I think that maybe outside of the ghost stuff that I'm sure modern audiences kind of snicker and laugh at in the theater.
This movie, it kind of reminded me of Malignant in a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why, because there's like that whole like ghost element, like thinks he's going crazy, that sort of thing. It was kind of like the same level of camp that Malignant was.
That's an insult, man. That's crazy.
What?
People
love Malignant.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't take Malignant seriously, even though, like, I'm sure
you can't take this movie seriously.
Yes, you can.
Are you okay?
Never felt better in my life. How are you?
I'm good. Good.
You can't put